Scorched the roads of France yesterday to win the time trial at an average speed of 52.3 kilometres an hour. This was the fastest time trial ever in the Tour de France at more than 50 kilometres in length. He now goes on towards Paris, a clear leader of the fastest tour in history. Hello again and welcome to this final weekend of the Tour de France. Miguel Indurain making certain yesterday that he was going to be the winner of this record-breaking tour, winning for him his second Tour de France in a row. Well, this final weekend for him, you know, will be a very nervous one. Although he has this big lead over the rest of his rivals, he knows too that an accident can put him out of this Tour de France, and believe me, it's happened in the past. Every day in the Tour there are crashes in that big field. He must make sure now he stays away from them all. Let's have a look at the overall classification, and it certainly has some changes in it this morning. Indurain leading Claudio Chiappucci by 4 minutes and 35 seconds now. Gianni Bugno is up to third, but 10 minutes 49 seconds behind. These are the same three riders who took the top three positions 1 year ago. Andy Hampson has slipped away from third into fourth. That's rather sad. Pascal Lino down to fifth, and of the rest of the top 10 previous Tour winners, Pedro Delgado is sixth and Stephen Roach is in ninth place. In the battle for the King of the Mountains, everybody will be delighted that Claudio Chiappucci has made this competition his for a second year. He has 409 points ahead of Richard Virenque's 245 and Franco Chioccioli's 209. But the battle still remains for the green jersey for the most consistent sprinter in the race. And today, Lange Jalabert could seal it and become only the third French winner in the last 30 years. He leads Johan Museeuw by 26 points and Claudio Chiappucci is third. This week, three riders have indicated to us that they'll be riding this year their final Tour de France. Sean Kelly, the doyen of them all. He's ridden the Tour de France on 14 occasions. But you know, the three of them total up to 28 tours. The other two, Alan Piper of Australia. He's finishing his third. He's attempted 5. And our own Sean Yates, he said to us last night, he's probably riding his last tour as well. And I know that many of you will be disappointed about that, because we know the following that Sean has back home and here on the Tour de France. Now, it's a flat road today to Nanterre. The Dutch riders haven't done very well in this year's Tour de France, largely because of the rivalry between the Buckler and the Panasonic teams. Perhaps today they'll bury the hatchet and get on with the racing, and one of them might win the stage at Nanterre. Here's the route. It's 212 kilometres to Nanterre. There really is hardly a ripple on the road. It should be a day for the sprints, but you know, we've said that a number of times this year, and they've only really had a group sprint on 2 occasions. And Miguel Indurain now a very relaxed and contented man at the start line today. The sun is shining. Everything has gone in his favour in this year's Tour de France. The rollout, the 130 survivors setting off today from Loire on the banks of the River Loire, one of the most beautiful rivers in France, and heading out now on a gentle meander towards Paris, and nobody in any particular hurry. 19 kilometres covered, well, a little bit more than that, 23 kilometres actually at the town of Oucques, and a sprint here. 2 riders just nipped off the front. Giovanni Fidanza from the Gatorade team. Xavier Alanondo is here in second place. And taking third place, 2 very important points for that green jersey competition. Lange Jalabert now seems to be building an unassailable lead in that. And our man in the peloton, our eyes down there in the big bunch, here's Alan Piper this morning.
Right. Me and Steve, I watched the rugby this morning, Australia versus the All Blacks. But we lost. I tried to ring him up all night last night to tell him there was rugby on Antenne 2. Nice day today anyway, we're riding pretty slow and everyone's having a bit of a laugh. Football meets by kangaroos and Holden cars. That's an Australian song. I think it'll be a pretty wild final today anyway. Like the other day, the Tulip boys will be up there causing some havoc and probably not winning. Steve will be up there riding on the front for his green jerseyed man. So it'll be till tomorrow on the Champs-Elysees. Bye-bye.
Well, Alan, one thing's for sure, mate. I'll be there before you tomorrow. And now, after many hours of meandering along the countryside towards Paris, a breakaway has established itself. In fact, it went at 80 kilometres into the race, or rather 80 kilometres to go on today's stage of 222. And Michel Dernis from Motorola is in it, Ralph Yerman, Dominic Krieger from the Helvetia team, Jose Uriarte from Benesto, Thierry Laurent, Peter de Klerk, Flavio Vanzella, Martin Dembacker, and you haven't heard me mention those names this past 3 weeks. Well, that's because I probably haven't mentioned them, because these riders are now escaping in the hope they can win a stage, because the best placed in the breakaway is Dominic Krieger, 1 hour, 45 minutes and 48 seconds behind the man in yellow here, Miguel Indurain. Even so, Paul, the Benesto, the teammates to the end, are now mustering the chase.
Well, they're the team of the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain, and it's their job really to try and control these kind of breakaways. They don't want to catch them because there's no danger. They've got the yellow jersey in their midst. All they want to do is just to make sure there are no other little attacks towards the end. So they're setting a tempo at the front of the field to make sure that they can make sure this break doesn't get too far away.
Well, at first they were held because it was the Panasonic team who missed the move and tried to pin it down, and for a long while they were holding them at 40 seconds, but then the elastic snapped and the breakaway has now gone up. The last check we had was 4 minutes 10 seconds, and I think, Paul, you've got an even later one there now.
Yeah, the two riders in between are 2 minutes and 50 seconds behind. That's Brian Home and Rick Van Slyke. And now, as they went through the last town of Bain at 35 kilometers to go, they had 5 minutes and 6 seconds lead over the main field. So the main field is not really chasing, they're just setting a tempo and they're leaving it up to the breakaway to try their chances today.
Well, Peter de Klerk is the leader of that group, but let's go back to his teammate here, Rick Van Slyke. He does seem to be assisting in the pursuit now, although when the breakaway went, it was started by Brian Home, this chase. Van Slyke went along as the watching teammate, not trying to let Brian Home get any closer than was safe to do so, but they've gone clear of the field. They're in the middle of no man's land here really now, and it's rather sad for Brian Home because he's tried this sort of move on a number of stages this Tour de France, and all of them have not come to anything. And today he's missed the move, and again he's now trying to make amends over these last few miles. We've got about 20 miles to go to the finish. That's 32 kilometers. There's still time for them to cross the gap, but I'm not too sure about the big bunch, Paul. I think they may have missed out for the day.
Well, they're not too bothered. You can see it's the Benesto team at the front there. There's Miguel Indurain, and resplendent in his yellow jersey. The Panasonic team did try a little while ago to try and chase down because they would like to have a bunch sprint, give Olaf Ludwig a chance, but they desisted. Here at the front now, Sean Yates has been quite good. He's been at the front over the last few days. He had a little bit of bronchitis, but I think he'd like to shine maybe on tomorrow's stage, because tomorrow is the grand finale on the Champs-Elysees. This is what happens to two riders when you miss the break in the Tour de France, because a breakaway goes so quickly. If you don't get onto it straight away, you end up in no man's land. And these riders at the moment are halfway between the front and the back.
Well, they're getting on with the job in hand anyway. It's a beautiful day here as we head up now towards the outskirts of Paris at Nanterre. A big crowd awaiting the arrival of the Tour, which they've only seen on the television sets these past 3 weeks as it races around 7 different countries. But now the Tour de France is coming home, and tomorrow it will start literally just down the road, almost in the shadow of the Arc de Triomphe at La Défense. But then it will take a very circuitous route through the Chevreuse, that beautiful area outside of Paris, of 141 kilometers. It'll come back onto the Champs-Elysees with still around about 65 kilometers to go. So there's still time to jump on an aeroplane and come over and enjoy the grand finale of the Tour de France on the Champs-Elysees tomorrow. So the boys we haven't seen too much of. They've been engaged in the service of their team leaders over this past 3 weeks of the Tour, now being given their chance to see if they can win the stage. And I wonder if they can, because certainly the elastic has snapped, the break is building. It's over 5 minutes now back to that main field, and this lead has been built in around about 30 kilometers of racing, because until then there was hardly a pedal turned in anger. The Tour is on its way towards Paris, and a chance now for one of these riders to notch up a victory in the Tour de France. We'll take a break. Well, welcome back to the penultimate stage of the Tour de France. This breakaway of 8 are still riding strongly with some 6 miles to go. They're now over 7 minutes ahead of the main field. This is the statistician's delight today. 130 starters in the race this morning. We've had that for a few days now. No retirements, a fairly slow speed on the day, and the Tour average speed 39.750. The leaderboard, Indurain in yellow, of course. The polka dot won by Chiappucci with 409 points. And the green jersey still being battled out, but Laurent Jalabert is in the lead with 253. Well, let's go now to Gary Imlach with news on other happenings in the Tour de France.
Now, 2 competitions in this year's Tour de France have already been decided, although of course you could argue that about the main competition for the leader's yellow jersey. But these are officially over, and both of them are competitions which are new to the Tour. The first one is the Eurosprint Trophy, which was staged to mark this year of the single European market, and it was contested every time the riders crossed one of the 7 international borders on this year's route. Not a competition hotly contested by the Danish riders, this one, and in fact it was won not by an EC rider at all, but by Vyacheslav Ekimov of the former Soviet Union. The other new award up for grabs was the Trophy du Fair Play, the French apparently not having their own term for fair play, and this was for the rider who'd shown the best all-round sportsmanship and attitude during the Tour. The popular choice was Stephen Roach, who was praised for his inexhaustible multilingual courtesy to press and public alike day after day on this Tour. And after the presentation was made, I pestered him for one more interview.
Congratulations on getting it. How much does it mean to you?
It means an awful lot because, if you calculate every day, you spend a lot of time with journalists and paper and television and also with the public. If you calculate 1 hour every day, that's taking minimum 1 hour. Mo is much more than 1 hour, but taking 1 hour every day, that's 22 days. That's almost 1 day of sleep you lose in the Tour de France. So it's nice to be compensated in some way, but when I do it, it's not looking for compensation. It's just that that's natural. But for me, it's an incredible award for me.
I think 1 hour a day is conservative. You seem to spend almost as much time servicing the media as you do on the bike.
It's very true, yeah. It's the Tour de France now has become so difficult. And also, like Indurain says, I won't learn French because the French journalists come and bother me then. Whereas I speak French, Italian and English, so I have 3 nationalities coming after me.
Now, a great tour for you apart from this, and a great stage win. Do you think, all other things being equal, you've set the stage for a real challenge next year?
Well, normally the plan was that this year I'd try and find the form, and next year I make use of the form. So hopefully now we're on the way. I'm way ahead of my programme, so I hope this keeps going this way now.
Okay, congratulations, Tim.
Thanks very much.
Stephen Roach there giving, I think, about his 200th interview of the Tour and doing a good job against the PA system in the first part of it. Let's rejoin the racing now as the riders head here to Nanterre on the outskirts of Paris.
So the 222-kilometre stage coming now towards its grand finale. Here's where we are, Louvain-Chienne, 213 kilometres covered. And this breakaway turning out now to be the only attack of the day and the winning move. And it's being led by Michel Dernisse of Belgium. Well, Mr. Roller has rang us in and asked what is the record speed of the Tour de France before this race finishes tomorrow on the Champs-Élysées. Well, it's the one done by Pedro Delgado in 1988 with an average speed of 39.142 kilometres an hour. And Mr. Monroe has asked us, has anyone ever won the final stage of the Tour when he was in the yellow jersey already? Well, yes, indeed. Bernard Hinault is the most recent claimer of that honour. Now, there's a question here from Mrs. Bird, just come up on the fax machine to us here at the commentary position. And what is the most number of riders to complete the Tour de France? Well, from memory, Mrs. Bird, I think it was 156 riders who finished in 1990. I can't tell you the least number because I simply haven't got the time to have a look today. And the one question which I'd like to close with on the questions today from Mr. Nathan Greenwood, who asks how many languages do Greg LeMond and the English-speaking riders speak. Well, Greg LeMond speaks French extremely well, and of the English riders, Sean Yates, and he speaks French as well. Robert Miller speaks French, and Stephen Roach speaks Italian and French, both very fluently. Alan Piper speaks fluent Flemish, which is the natural tongue of the Belgian people, and French. And Paul Sherwin reminds me he can also speak a little bit of English as well. But look at that time gap today. That's how much these riders concern the main field. 7 minutes 20 seconds. Krieger is the highest placed overall in 55th place, 1 hour 45 minutes down, with 4 kilometers to go.
Getting very dangerous now as we get nearer to the line, and actually, strangely enough, I don't think that PDM is the each one of these teams has won a stage, so it's not. I was just trying to think there, if PDM had won a stage, it was a long time ago, but in fact, Jean-Paul Van Poppel won the Big Bunch Sprint back in Strasbourg, so each one of these teams has won a stage, so there's no added incentive there to try and help the team to save their Tour de France. This man at the back here, Thierry Laurent from the RMO team, he's been talking to his team manager, Jacques Michaud, on and off over the last 5 or 6 kilometers. He may be waiting to find a time when he can attack, but I have a very distinct feeling in the back of my mind that it's going to be Martin Den Bakker is the man who's going to try that attack with a kilometer to go.
He keeps riding back there, and there he goes, so you're absolutely right, Paul. Den Bakker's gone. He slid off the back. Dernier spotted his move very, very quickly. Uriarte's gone as well, and so too has Van Zelle. So he's made the move, Paul, but he's not gone cleanly.
Well, he tried. 3 kilometers to go. He's actually too far out to try and make a move like that, and Dernier was waiting for it, and he was straight onto the wheel. Den Bakker didn't get the gap, and it's all come back together. A little split, but I think Den Bakker will see that he's not got it. He'll ease up, and the other guys will come back, and somebody else might go straight away.
Sort of rider who could do that is Rolf Gehrmann, just peeping into our picture on the right there from Aria-Ostia. He's not a sprinter of any sort, really. He's a very good climber, Rolf Gehrmann, former champion of Switzerland as well. And he's the rider who might need to try and open a gap, but he may wait until we get into that last kilometre. Den Bakker has left himself time to recover from that spurt as he comes to the back of the field again. Is he going to make another run at the field?
Just a tester there to see what the situation may be. They're getting closer. A move like that, to really succeed, you've got to do it with about 1.5 kilometers to go. But you have to have the element of surprise and get that initial 20 or 30 meters lead over the rest. But I think Den Bakker will try it again. He'll just wait for a slowing. You see Van Zelle has come to the back now to keep an eye on him. He doesn't want to get caught out like that again as they get closer and closer to the finish. The banner there now, I think we'll say 2 kilometers to the end.
So Van Zelle, we think, can pack a reasonable sprint, sitting at the back here too, and Den Bakker taking a good close look at him as he comes down the line. Dernier is up at the front with 2 kilometers to go, won the Kellogg's Tour of Britain back in 1990, and put up a very good defense too when he was narrowly beaten later the following year by Robert Miller.
Starting to get very nervous now, getting towards the red flag. The red flag will be at the end of this straight now. Nobody really deciding what to do. Everyone watching everybody else. The muscles are now starting to twitch a little bit, and Den Bakker's waiting. He thinks now's a chance to go again, but Krieger was waiting for that move, and he's straight onto the wheel. All over the road now, waiting for the first man to move.
This is a very nervous breakaway now. They're not looking for time anymore in the Tour de France, these riders. They just want to be first over the line. And they know with 7 minutes in hand, nobody's going to shoot up out of the mist, out of the sun as it is today, and catch them back. Not even Brian Holm or Rick Van Slyke, because they're also still some minutes behind.
The problem with this situation at the moment is a lot of these riders don't find themselves so often in a chance to win a stage of the Tour de France, and this really is a gift horse, and it looks as if somebody's decided to go down the right-hand side.
I think it's Krieger who's gone, the rider who started all of the moves, and that's caused the reaction from everybody, and there is a small gap there. Den Bakker's been caught at the rear this time now, but you can see what Paul Schoen was saying about the long straight here. It's a very difficult road to slip the field on, and because of the central reservation being rather solid concrete there, the riders are only using 1/2 of this road, so they haven't got the whole road to duck and dive along.
Come up now, I think, to the red kite. It's just on that bridge. I remember on the drive-in, they've got about 1 kilometer, 1.2 kilometers to go. Everybody waiting to go now. This is going to be an incredible sprint amongst these riders to try and get the stage victory here into Nanterre.
And this is what happens, you see, when you don't have your teammates to set the pace and bring you out of the slipstream, because none of these riders are great sprinters, so there's really no form here to read from, and there's no way these riders can really attach themselves to the other members of the break. So they're all riding individually and trying to save the stage here in Nanterre, as again, and just look at the false starts here they're making as they try to draw somebody into making a dive for the line. Thierry Long is going, and again Peter de Klerk has got him. Peter de Klerk, probably the only good sprinter here. De Klerk has got onto the wheel of Thierry Laurent. Well, if he takes de Klerk up there, he'll have lost this stage. Thierry Laurent may not know who's on his back wheel right now as he swings around the road here, and he's committed himself now. I don't think he'll be able to slow down. He's giving the perfect lead out to Peter de Klerk, who's slipped it up a gear. He's keeping an eye on who's coming up behind, and it's Van Zelle, but Van Zelle, the other sprinter's made a mistake. Now Peter de Klerk goes. Thierry Laurent tries to get on his wheel, but he's made his move. Peter de Klerk, the Belgian, is going to make people happy today. The second victory from Belgium, and from the same team. Peter de Klerk gets the victory. He made it look easy, and the other riders, well, they didn't ride very clever because they made the race so easy there for Peter de Klerk to take that stage victory. And so as they come up to the line, something like 3.5 minutes has gone by, and now Brian Home is going to find no competition from this particular Lotto rider, who will hope that his job has been done by his teammate Peter de Klerk, and it certainly has. So Brian Home will finish in 9th place, and Rick van Slyke 10th. Well, here's the main field as they pass under the kilometre to go kite, and they're going to be 7 minutes down today. They're being led by Richard Virenque, who's finishing second in the King of the Mountains competition. He wore the yellow jersey for that one day when he took the lead of Pau, the first day the race came into France. Happy days gone by, but Virenque finishing very, very well indeed. Henrik Verdant now, the big man on the front. And look at the speed there, because although the Lotto rider has won, Peter de Klerk, they're now thinking of Johan Museo here in that black top to his jersey in 3rd place. He could do with finishing quite a few places ahead of the green jersey of Laurent Jalabert, but Jalabert is locked on to his wheel there as they move up towards the line, and Museo goes now. Jalabert tries to get on terms too, and this looks like Verdenza is coming through on his right, and Museo now making a rush for the line, perhaps a rehearsal for the Champs-Élysées. He gets it ahead of Jalabert there, and also Giovanni Verdenza was alongside him as well. So the sprinters were outwitted again today, but surely tomorrow they won't make the same mistake when they perform in front of the world on the cobblestones of the Champs-Élysées. So the result makes strange reading tonight. Peter de Klerk of Belgium for the Lotto team coming home first ahead of that group of 8 riders. Flavio Van Zelle was second, Thierry Laurent of France was third, and Rolf Jerman of Switzerland in 4th place. Peter de Klerk on the podium tonight. Well, that's only the second stage win for Belgium, and now both winners coming from the same team. Well, there's a couple not too far away from the finishing line today, and I don't even think they're aware that Tour de France has just finished here in Nanterre. A look at the overall classification. Miguel Indurain, no change at all today. Everybody riding in together, some 7 minutes behind that group. Claudio Chiappucci is in 2nd place, 4 minutes 35 seconds back. Gianni Bugno is 3rd, Andy Hampsten 4th, and Pascal Lino is now down into 5th place. And nobody seriously expects now to see any further changes amongst the top contenders of this year's Tour de France. Tomorrow they go to the heart of Paris and the Champs-Élysées. Now, many of you have contacted us and asked what time will the riders be on the sacred cobblestones in Paris tomorrow. Well, the answer is just before 2 o'clock. Remember, that's French time, so if you are coming over, make sure you're over here by about 11:30 to midday. A quick word about our competition. We'd like you to name the winner of the final stage, and you could be in the hat for the yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain, signed by him and by the stage winner tomorrow. Too late for a postcard. Here's the telephone number, though, 0891 500 112, and the lines will remain open until midnight. So tomorrow, all of the riders moving just down the road, in fact, to La Défense, and then out on a tour of the Chevreuse Valley before they come home to the centre of Paris. Every one of the 130 riders deserve the medal they will receive from the Hotel de Ville later tomorrow night. This has been a great tour. It'll have a great climax tomorrow. We'll be there. I hope to see you there too. Goodbye.